Terraform configurations to add more resources, improve reusability, and enhance your infrastructure management capabilities. We will use variables and split the main.tf file into smaller files. We will also create a terraform.tf vars file to accommodate information relevant to this environment. If another environment is necessary, a similar file can be created with the correspondent values, reusing the other files without any change. Let's get started. Splitting the files makes it easier to organize the resources and increases the readability. This is how our configuration will look like after we split. You can split the files as you wish. Terraform combine them and sort the order properly before applying. Picking up the file from where I left, let's start by creating a variables.tf file. And on this file, I have already set the variables that we're going to use on my nodes here. So I will just paste the values. Once that file is saved, when I start to replace here, the autocomplete will help me. So var.region for this part here. For my compartment, I will have var.compartmentOCID. Similarly, for the other variables, so var.vcn01 cider block, I'm going to use the display name as the DNS label for this guy, so same name here and same variable again on VCN01 display name. Now that we replaced the variables, let's move the contents of the provider section to a different file. I will copy this information here. I will create a new file called provider.tf. It's on the correct path. I'm going to paste the contents here. Oh, I copied more than what I should. Let me remove here. Let me go back, place this where it belongs. And okay, now that we split the files, we have to create a file that will hold the values for those variables as they are not present in the code anymore. Now it's time for Terraform tf vars. For my environment, I already have here on my nodes a copy. So I will just paste the values here. And let's give it a try and see if it works. I will go to the terminal again. Terraform validate to make sure that I don't have any syntax mistakes. All good. Let's clear the console again. Terraform plan. And let's see what we have. Yep, our changes are okay. It will create one VCN as we created before. I will save the time and not do the apply because we're going to do a couple more changes. Let's go back to the slides and to see what are those changes. Now let's explore how can we incorporate Terraform modules to enhance our infrastructure management and promote reusability in our configurations. To incorporate modules into our Terraform project, I will first identify the modules that align with the new resources or functionalities we want to add. These modules can be sourced from the Terraform registry, community contributed repositories, or custom-built modules within your organization. In our environment here, we will create them from scratch. Our module will live in the vcn_module directory. The first two files I will mention are the main.tf that will hold the resource configuration and the variables.tf that will contain the variables. Remember that Terraform defines scopes and those variables are only used within the module. The last file is the outputs file. Because of the scopes defined by Terraform, any information contained in a module can only be reused outside if you define an output for it. Here's the output file that we will use. Once the module is finished, it's time to configure the main.tf file to invoke the module and to create the resource. Now let's do it for real. Back in the console, let me close these files here. We don't need the provider. The resource that we have, it's a VCN, so we will create a module for the VCN. As per we defined it before, we will create our vcn_module directory, and within that directory we will have our module files. So vcn.module, let's create main.tf. No, it got the wrong path. And we close here, vcn module, main.tf, we'll go here. Now that we have the directory, let's create our module files. Let's click on it, make sure that it's selected. Yes, it's on the right directory, main.tf. Okay, the contents of main.tf for the module, it's where we're going to define the resource. So we'll paste here. These variables we are going to define next on the variable.tf. Before doing that, let's save, make sure that it's okay. It's marking as red here because we have several variables that were not declared yet. So no declaration found for the variable. As soon as we create the file, that should be fixed. So variables.tf, inside variables.tf, I already have on the nodes here. So let's paste the values. Let's save the file. We can close this file now. As you can see, the error is gone. And let's create the last file, the outputs.tf. I also have that on the notes here. Remembering that if you want to use it outside, you have to declare those values here. File, save. And with that, our module is created. We have here our 3 files inside the vcn_module directory. Now what we have to do is to replace this resource block here with the invocation of the module. I will not delete it for now, so you guys can compare how it looks like. I will copy from the notes. I will paste it here. So instead of calling resource, I'm going to call the module, the name of the invocation, where that source module is. It's on the same directory of the main.file, so // and the name of the directory. I have these variables here that were declared for the main.tf on the root of the directory. Those values here, as you remember, it's on the terraform.tfr file. And once they get the values from there, they will replace the variables here that will, in their turn, replace the variables inside the module. I don't need that section here anymore. We can get rid of it. Let's save the file. And let's go back to the terminal. Clear the terminal. First thing that we have to do after introducing a module is to run Terraform init again so it can validate the module. Terraform init. And that's it. Initialized successfully. Now let's clear. And let's try to run a Terraform plan and see what's going to create for us. Terraform plan executed, and we see the plan here, similar to with the previous output that we have, but now this time is coming from the module. Let's go ahead and do a Terraform apply. Let's say yes as the intended action. Once it finishes running, let's take a peek on another tab and see that we have our virtual cloud network created. Going back here to the other tab, let's do another thing. I will copy this module and I will create another VCN. But this time I will not create variables, I will just use the values directly here. So I will replace the variable with the value here of the CIDR block. I'm going with a different CIDR block, /16. Our display name, DNS label, I will use VCN02. The compartment it will be on the same compartment, so I can reuse the variable. And for the display name, I will also use VCN02. Let's save the file. While the file is saved, let's clear the console and run Terraform plan again. I have a mistake here. Oh, as I invoked the module again, it's time to run Terraform init once more. It validates the module, and if I run a Terraform apply, it will create my second VCN. Terraform apply, yes. It executed, one resource added. If I go back here, VCN02 as intended. So with this, we finish our module implementation on Terraform, and also the demonstration on how to use variables, use different files to organize your code and improve readability and reusability. This concludes our module on Terraform. We just scratched the surface of what Terraform can do for you, but these basics will allow you to explore our next module, OCI Resource Manager. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next lesson. Hello and welcome. In this section, we will cover OCI Resource Manager. a managed service that automates the deployment and management of cloud resources using Terraform. In this lesson, we will introduce you to the concepts and functionalities of OCI Resource Manager, helping you understand its role in cloud infrastructure management. Let's explore the key concepts of OCI Resource Manager. These include configuration source provider, configuration, stacks, action, jobs, and templates. Understanding these concepts will provide you with a solid foundation to effectively use OCI Resource Manager. We begin with configuration source providers. Configuration source providers allow you to streamline access to external configuration data, facilitating efficient management and integrating of settings across your cloud infrastructure. OCI Resource Manager supports several configuration source providers, including Bitbucket, Bitbucket Cloud, GitHub, and GitLab. These providers help you integrate your source control systems with OCI, ensuring that your infrastructure configurations are consistent and easily manageable. Next, let's talk about configuration. In OCI Resource Manager, configuration involves defining variables, resources, and providers in your Terraform files. This process sets the foundation for managing your cloud infrastructure. In the Resource Manager realm, every time you hear about configurations, it's referring to your set of Terraform files. Next, we have stacks. In OCI Resource Manager, a stack represents a collection of Terraform configurations that define your infrastructure resources. Stacks allow you to manage and deploy related resources as a single unity, ensuring consistency and efficiency. Stacks are subject to actions, enabling you to manage and modify your infrastructure. Here are the key actions available in OCI Resource Manager. Plan. This action shows the changes required by the current configuration, helping you understand what will be created, updated, or destroyed before making an actual change. Apply. This action creates or updates your infrastructure based on the configuration you've defined. Destroy. This action destroys previously created infrastructure, allowing you to clean up resources that are no longer needed. Edit. This action allows you to change the configuration, providing flexibility to adapt to new requirements or adjustments. Drift detection. This action detects differences between the current configuration and the actual infrastructure, ensuring consistency and helping identify unexpected changes. Import state. This action imports the current states to reflect existing infrastructure, allowing you to manage and track resources that were created outside Terraform. Next, there are jobs. Jobs represents operations performed on stacks, such as creating, updating, or deleting resources. Understanding the job's lifecycle is crucial for managing these operations effectively. Here are the lifecycle stages of jobs. Accepted. The job request is received and accepted. In progress. The job is currently being executed. At the end of the journey, if the job completed successfully, it succeeded. If the job did not complete successfully, it failed. If the job is in the process of being cancelled, it will be cancelling as operations are being terminated, to finally change to cancel. Each job progresses through these stages, allowing you to track its status and manage your infrastructure operations efficiently. Next, let's talk about templates. In OCI Resource Manager, templates provide standardized configurations that simplify and automate the deployment and management of your cloud resources. Templates allow you to define common infrastructure patterns and reuse them across different environments. This enables you to ensure consistency and efficiency in your deployments. By using templates, you can easily manage complex configurations and streamline your infrastructure management process. Let's put all together. we start with a configuration that can come from different sources, creating a stack. Using the plan action, it will pass through the different life cycle stages. Once it succeeds, it will be ready to apply, that will go through its stages, to finally provision the resources. Now that the introductions were made, I wait for you in the next lesson to put all these concepts together and create your first stack. Thanks for watching and see you soon! Hello and welcome. After introducing Oracle Resource Manager concepts, now it's time to see how it works from a hands-on perspective. Before we get started, let's look at an overview of what we will be doing. First, we will compress our existing Terraform configuration into a zip file. This is essential for uploading your configuration to OCI Resource Manager. Next, we will initiate a new stack creation wizard in OCI. Select the zip file as your configuration source. This process helps OCI Resource Manager understand the structure and contents of your configuration. After uploading the zip file, we will input the necessary variable values. These variables help customize your stack for different environments or use cases. Once input, your stack configuration is ready. Proceed with the plan action. This step shows the changes required by the current configuration. Review the execution plan to understand what will be created, modified, or destroyed. Finally, execute the apply action to create or update your infrastructure. This step will apply the changes outlined in the plan, bringing your resources into the desired state. Now that we finished the overview, let's see how it looks in the console. I will start from the point where I stopped at after the Terraform module, because we built a configuration there. I'm already on that directory, and I have here my configuration files. So, first step is let's create a zip file, download that file, and from there we will create our stack. To create a zip file, I will use the command line just for simplicity. So zip minus UR. I will create on the directory below so it doesn't get mixed up with everything that I have. I need all my TF files. I don't need the Terraform state, or if you have on the directory TF vars file, so only star.tf. As I have the modules there, my module is called VCN module. I'll have the name of the directory here. As I used the R option, it will be recursive. I don't have to specify the files inside the module. So I have my files here added to the zip file. If you want to confirm that they are there, you can use the unzip -L command and you point to the zip file, and you will have the list of the files that were included at the zip file. Now I have to download. Easiest way to download is if you come here on the left side on the list of files, you will see myconf.zip. You can right click, download. You should see the download dialog on your browser. I will open my file explorer here and minimizing Cloud Shell, I can go to the navigation menu, Developer Services, Resource Manager, Stacks. I will start the wizard by clicking on Create Stack. I already have selected my configuration. I will say that I want a zip file. I will browse the file. It's already on my download directory here. I will choose to open. The file is listed here. I could have used an object storage bucket or a folder, but using the zip file is just simpler from where we are. You can give a name to that. My first stack. You can add a description, the compartment where it will create that stack. Terraform version, we can go with the latest. The latest supported with Resource Manager is 1.2. And when we click on Next, as we have some variables in our configuration, it's prompting us to fill those variables. The first two, it checked from the input that you had before with the compartment, and we are using the Ashburn region, so it's already filled for you. We will enter the value for our subnet CIDR block, and this is VCN01. And by clicking on Next, we will review and we'll create. There's a button here, Run Apply. If you check this box, it will automatically create the stack and run the apply command for you. As we want to go through all the steps, I will leave this unchecked for now and click just on Create. And that's it. Our first stack is created. Now we can run the same actions that we have on Terraform and a couple more actions. We can use plan, apply, destroy. We can import the state. There's a whole bunch of options that we can go from there. Let's start with the plan and see how it looks like. It will give a plan like if we were using the output option when you run a Terraform plan -out. And after running plan, it will start to process it. I'll get back in a second after the plan is finished. During the execution of the plan, the logs will be updated with partial logs. You can check that. Once it turns green, you can scroll down the page and you can review the whole output of the plan command. As you can see here, our first VCN where we input the variables. We have our second VCN that the values are inside the configuration file. And you can see the summary of the plan, adding 2 resources, nothing to change, nothing to destroy. Once the plan is finished, we can move back to the stack details and we can run and apply. The apply can be based on the plan that we just executed, or it will do it automatically approve, running whatever is on the configuration. If you run based on the plan that you have here, you are sure that it's the plan that you reviewed, no changes has made in between, and you have more assurance and more control over the whole process. I will click on apply, and the same way as the plan command, the logs will be displayed here during the execution, and the full logs will be displayed when it turns green. Now that the job finished, and it was succeeded, it is green, as on the plan. You can scroll down, review the logs, and we have the result here, apply complete. If you go back to the stack details, you have a summary of the jobs that we've executed so far, the state of those jobs, and that concludes the creation of our first stack, running in apply and finishing to deploy the configuration. I can review the created resources going to the virtual cloud networks. Here we can see the 2 VCNs that are declared in our configuration. After verifying that the resources were created properly, now I will show you how to edit a stack. Let's go back to the stacks. Within the stack's details, you will have the edit button, where you will have 2 options. First one, when you click on edit stack, you have the option to point to a folder and a zip file, and you can upload a new version of your configuration. If we edit our files that we have on Cloud Shell, we would have to create a new zip file and upload it here. If we don't change anything on the configuration, we still have the option to go on Next and change the value of the variables that we have. In this case, I would change from VCN1 to VCN2. Something important to remember is that some of the changes that you make on the variables or attributes of a resource might request that resource to be recreated, so it will be destroyed and created again. And that's the case for the attributes like the CIDR block or the name of the VCN. After saving the changes, I will run a plan. In that plan, we will use the new variable values that I set. After the plan finishes and succeeds, when you review here, you can see at the summary that one object is going to be destroyed and one is going to be added. Nothing happened so far because we just planned. So let's go ahead and apply. And I'll be back when it finishes. Now that the apply finished and it was successful, let's go back and check our resources. And where I used to have VCN01, now I have VCN02. The second way to edit a resource. Now let's check the second way of editing a stack. I will go again to the stack details and I will select Edit Terraform Configuration in Code Editor. If I click here, it will open Code Editor. As I have Code Editor open, I will show you another way that you can navigate and find your stack. So you can click on the plugins, it's going to be the third icon. And within there, you find Resource Manager. You can start navigating on the compartments. And as you navigate, you can find your stack. In this case, I have here my first stack. I have my main item here. I have my variables file. In this case, I will come here and I will change the VCN, my VCN to VCN3. I'll change here to VCN03 as well. And after you finish changing the configuration, you can right-click on your stack, save changes, and you also have the options to run a plan action directly from here or even in apply. I will run directly in apply as we've been running the plan and apply. I will go directly with the apply now. Once I click here, if I minimize, I can refresh this page. Oh, no, because it's open. But if I click on stacks, click over here, I have an apply job being processed here. Let's wait until it finishes and then we're going to check if the change was applied to the resource. The apply action finished, it was succeeded. If we go again to our virtual cloud networks, where we had my VCN, now we have VCN03. With that, we finish our demo on how to create your first stack and how to modify an existing stack. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video. Hello and welcome. In this module, we will explore how Terraform source providers can be used as the repositories for your configurations. Configuration source providers give you streamlined access to external configuration data, facilitating efficient management and integration of settings across your cloud infrastructure. OCI supports Bitbucket Server, Bitbucket Cloud, GitHub, and GitLab as configuration source providers. To use a configuration source provider, we will follow these steps. First, create a repository that contains our configuration. Next, create the service provider on OCI. Then start the new stack wizard and select the service provider as the configuration source. Input variable values if present, and the stack will be ready. After the stack is ready, as usual, the plan action and the apply action. Now let's jump on the console and see how it works. In between videos, I deleted all the stacks and resources, so we're starting with just the files that we have on Cloud Shell. At my Cloud Shell, I will make sure that I have my key SSH key pair. Those will be used to authenticate against GitHub if I have to write files over there when I'm changing the configuration. Next step is go to GitHub, and I will make sure that I have that SSH key working with my account. So I click on my profile, settings, SSH keys. I will add a new SSH key, IAC demo. I will paste the content of the public key file. So I can do a cat ID RSA pub, posting this contents there. That will finish the configuration of the key on GitHub. Once the key is successfully added, let's test and make sure that it's working with GitHub. To do that, SSH dash capital T git at github.com. As I'm using the default name for the key, I don't have to specify it over here. When I hit enter, it's the first time I'm trying to connect to GitHub. I have to accept the key fingerprint of the server. Yes, I can see my username here. You successfully authenticated. GitHub does not provide shell access. That's the expected answer that we are looking for. Now that the key is ready, let's go back to GitHub, and I will create my first repository. I click on the new button. I'm going to call it IAC demo. IAC course stack. We don't have to change any of the values, and we can go and create a repository. Oh, I didn't select the owner because I have multiple profiles. I select it here. It's available. So I can finally go and create my repository. So now I can go to Cloud Shell and initialize the directory that I have there. I will copy these instructions here and go into Cloud Shell. I have to change to my directory there. IAC, clear. I will paste all the instructions. I will hit enter here. My directory is configured. As soon as I can set up the directory as and initialize it as my repository, the GitHub icon will show here with files that should be added. We have all the files, but we won't be using all the files. We have to create first a git ignore to avoid putting files like Terraform state, the tfvars, and so on. So let's create a .gitignore file. I will click on the directory. I'll click to add a file. .gitignore. I have from my notes here the content of the file. Closing this will save the file. As you can see here, it moved from 16 to 7 files. At this point, our files are not there yet. So what we need to do is we can come over here. We can click on changes. It will select all the files, and it will be our first configuration. We will commit. Once it's committed, we can push. And by pushing, it will be sent to GitHub. So if we change tabs here and we refresh this page, we have our configuration set on GitHub. We have read-write access. We can move to our next step. Now our directory is configured to use GitHub, but it's not ready yet to use with OCI as a configuration source. Before we do that, we have to set up an access token. In order to create the token, you have to click on your profile, select Settings. On the bottom left, you will find Developer Settings, Personal Access Tokens, Tokens Classic, and by clicking on the button, you will select Generate New Token Classic. For to work with Resource Manager, they have the following permissions: repo status, repo deployment, public repo. You can put a note saying IAC course. You can set the expiration of the token. Towards the bottom, you will find generate token. I will copy the token, and that will be used during the creation. I'll leave it open for now. So coming here, developer services, configuration source providers, configuration source, IAC, GitHub, IAC, GitHub, the compartment where that source will be placed. It's a public endpoint because we are using github.com. If you are using a private endpoint, you could select here. We will change it to GitHub. I'll paste my access token here so I don't lose it. As I'm using GitHub with a free account, my URL will be github.com. github.com. Filling all this information, I can go ahead and click on Create. I don't want to save that with my password manager. If I click here, I will see the details, and I can click on Validate Connection to make sure that it works. Connection validated. Now I'm ready to create a stack using this source provider. To create that, I will go back on Resource Manager, Stacks, clicking on Create Stack. I will select Source Code Control System. I used GitHub, so I will select GitHub here. When I click on the selection box, I will find the source provider that we just created. I have to pick up a repository. I have one called AIC Demo. It has only one branch. If it had multiple branches, I could select which branch I would want to use. I'm not going to use any custom providers. Stack from GitHub is the name that I will use. We can put the highest version that we have. After selecting the version, I will click on Next. This configuration, if you remember, we have some variables that we're going to fill the values here. VCN01 and the decider block. I will click on Next. And reviewing the values, I can go and create. My configuration is provided through this stack. This stack is created. I messed with the name here, but let's leave as that. And let's run a plan. Once it returns, I'll be back. Now that the plan finished, I will go back here. I will click on Apply to create the resources based on the plan. Once it finishes, I will get back again. Our apply action finished successfully. It created our two VCNs. If we go to the navigation menu, Virtual Cloud Networks, we can see my VCN and VCN1 again. If we want to change the configuration, we can go to the code editor and change the configuration in our Cloud Shell directory. So I will come here, I will change this to VCN02. I'll change the name to VCN02. And now what we have to do is, well, I'll close this to make sure that the file was saved. Once the file is saved, the source control will inform us that there are changes. We can add that change to stage. We can save our commit message, change VCN name. I will commit that change. I will push that change to GitHub, and I can go back on my stack, developer services, stack. And if I run a plan here again, or if I run an apply, it should pick up the change that we just committed to GitHub. I will run the apply just for directly, so you can see that it can automatically approve. We don't have to run the plan. We made a simple change. When it finishes running, we will be back to check what happened. Well, the apply finished. We can take a look here, and we can see that the change that happened, changing from my VCN to VCN2, and that create a replacement. So we have one resource that was destroyed, it was added, and all that was done by changing the file and committing the change to GitHub. If we come here to check our resources, now I have VCN1 and VCN2 that previously was my VCN. With that, we conclude our demo on how to use source control as a source provider for Resource Manager, and how you will manipulate the configuration, change the configuration, so it can be updated when you need to make changes. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.